Thank you, May. Yes, I had a driveway moment and gave May a call and haven't looked back since. So yes, it's kind of good to get that introduction. Thank you, May, because it's kind of important to understand. I'm a cultural anthropologist, and I'm also a textiles person. I started my career as a designer for theater. And as they say, you can take a boy out of the theater, you can't take the theater out of a boy. And a lot of understanding of where I come from comes from that, but also the fact that somewhere along the way I also became an educator, and I'm now happy to be directing one of the directors of the honors program at the University of Rhode Island. So I have ambitions in all of those fields still, even though I've stopped designing for now. But just a little understanding of where I'm coming from. These are all the hats I wear, and if you'll excuse the image, I'm cramming them all on this afternoon. So I'm wearing all my hats at once. And I'm going to take us into a little bit of a different territory. I have the slightly terrifying and happy circumstance to be the final speaker here, and also to be the sort of lone person that is not going to speak at you in engineering speak at all, just at all. So the human in the loop, the key to Interstellar, they say. What do you mean key, Karl? What do you mean key? Well, opening doors, letting us in, creating worlds. We heard about that earlier this morning, creating a world that doesn't exist yet. That's an interesting trick, isn't it? That's a fabulous thing to do, to be a creator of worlds. That's Shakespearean, isn't it? There you are on your desert island, creating a world. Poof. Yeah. But can you let us in? What world is this that you're inviting us into with your science and your fabulous knowledge and your wonderful, entertaining ways of presenting? And your yo-yos. Essential tools. So I'm going to suggest this, that exploration is an act of creation. And I'm going to ask you all to ponder the possibility that you are storytellers, that you may even be performance artists. And I don't need you to ponder that, and we know at least that Dr. Swan over there has shown us how to do that, and Phil gave us quite the performance. And if Ronke had been here, she would have done the same, but you heard how she spoke and you saw her presentation. Performance matters. Storytelling matters. Narrative matters. And so this is what you're doing. You're showing us new worlds. You're giving us new vocabularies. You're giving us details. You're showing us the edges of territories that we have not seen. And now we know them, and now we own them, and now we have them inside us. They are our world after you explain them to us. This is very important. So let me introduce this to you. Martin Heidegger was very excited about the fact that modern technology, back in the middle of the 20th century, had abolished remoteness. That radio and telegraph and film and aircraft had now allowed all distances in time and space to be completely abolished. There is no such thing as distance, he says. So what does that mean, to be near or to be far? And I know you see where this is going. We all carry around our gadgets. We all have them in our pockets, some of you in your hands already, some of you with them open in front of you. And you are as near to whatever it is you're looking at as you are to the room next door. You're watching something on your screen, it's closer to you than San Francisco is at this moment, unless you're watching something in San Francisco. And so, abolishing nearness. Now, so you may remember this from your early comm gen ed classes at some point, but let me walk you through it quickly. Marshall McLuhan, social scientist back in the early days of television, was entranced by the same things as Martin Heidegger. How does this electronic media bring us elsewhere? How does it change our world? He talked about technology being extensions of self. Obviously, that's true. A pair of scissors extends what our hands can do. An aircraft extends what our bodies can maintain. A rover on Mars brings our eyes and our brains to another planet. We are extending ourself with all this technology. With the technology you're developing and deploying and have been working on, some of you, for all your lives. The global village is a village that is not cute, that is not cozy. This is a concept of a village where everybody knows everybody's business. But that's just it. We are able to see everything that everyone is doing. You are even willingly posting everything you're doing. Hector, no, who was it? Who was it that wanted a selfie yesterday? Refrained themselves from taking a selfie from the stage. I should actually do one right now. If I had a gadget, I would. But this idea that the global village, everyone can find out what they want, whether they want to or not sometimes. And then there's this idea of the medium being the message, that the technology actually matters more than what the technology delivers, because the technology changes our culture. We do things differently because of the technology, and then the technology does things. And then we do things differently because of what it's done. A society that had developed television was now suddenly a different society than the one that hadn't, regardless of whether you were watching the Beatles or Elvis or I don't know what you were watching. That was Marshall McLuhan's time. Third point from media studies. COM 101, Walter Benjamin, showing us the power of film. Our perception of the world has changed. We unconsciously penetrate spaces. Now, we understand the language of film. We understand the language of framing. We get what it means to zoom, to pan, to stop, to pan out, focus in on the eyes, right? What does that do? How do we understand the language of images? And this is what you've done, some of you up here. You've shown us things, and there have been videos, and there have been close-ups, and there have been pans, and there was that gorgeous origami ballet on the moon, yes? An act of creation. Now, all this to show the fact that you can invite your audience into your world. And now I'm not talking about an academic audience. I'm not talking about a military audience. I'm not talking about an industrial audience. That's a given. I'm actually talking about everybody else. Literally everyone else. There are those working toward a goal, all right? Military, industrial, academic. But then there are those who dream of being able to work toward those goals. And there are those who you can inspire to work toward those goals. But you have to speak their language in order to do that. You have to have the terminology that they understand. You have to have the fire that lights the fuel they've got. And that's what I'm kind of asking you to ponder. Because we really, several times in here already, speakers have wondered, what is all this for? You've alluded to this, many of you. Some of you have spoken about it directly. Why are we doing this? For whom is all this done? And if we're now thinking in lifetimes and centuries, cultural spans of events, how do we frame that in terms of who is the audience? There's your theater term, isn't it? For whom is this play performed? If you are the performing actors. Now, I want to ask you here to beware of the myth of modernism and note that these are not zero-sum games. That the fact that the myth of modernism, what is the myth of modernism? That everything will be solved by technology and it will be done quickly. And we will all magically traipse toward a brighter future of stainless steel and well-lit rooms, yes? Sadly wearing spandex in most of those scenarios. But that ain't happening, all right? So what do we do with that? And the non-zero-sum game, because it is a given for some, it doesn't necessarily mean that it's taken from others. But it does mean that it is not given. And that might be what we have to change. We might need to rethink the avenues where we deliver these things. And so coming back to the kind of thing that May was already talking about at the first light this morning, what if it's always an adventure? What if we can develop a culture where this is constantly in the world, that the kind of discussion that has been so wonderful here in the past 2 days, and thank you for that. I'm entranced. I'm delighted. I'm inspired by these 2 days. But what if this was everywhere, all the time? Not just in a room that you fly across the country to get to with credentials. What if awe and wonder become daily experiences for those for whom it is a surprise? What if is the constant question on our minds? Playful, performative, narrative, games. It's a fragmented world. And that wonderful technology that allows us to be everywhere all at once and access all of history all the time. And I still can't get over it. I turned 60 just a few weeks ago. And I still feel like I'm living in science fiction when I pick up my phone and choose the music I want to listen to on my drive to school. All the music in the world, all of the music of history, in a little silly little gadget in my hand that then connects to my car and plays it to me. I read The Man Who Fell to Earth when I was 11 years old. I don't know if you read the book. Well, one of the inventions that Newton has there is a little metal ball that he drops into a gadget, and then music plays. And my 11-year-old self still hasn't gotten over that. I'm in awe. I'm amazed. I love it. And what I would like you to think about is the fact that you all carry the ability to amaze with your work, with your knowledge, with your thoughts. And not just each other, to everybody. So invite people in. Think about those things with Walter Benjamin and Heidegger and McLuhan and how easy it is for you to put things out there that somebody can access and be in absolute awe of. I want to show you some examples of what the 100-Year Starship Organization has done. These are simple, and I will go through them quickly, but they are actually far more complex than I'm going to present them to you, but I'm sure you will understand. We are offering ownership by doing this. We're opening a gate. We're giving away keys. First thing I want to show you is something called the Blueprint. This is a blockchain-based community organizing tool, if you will. And this was rolled out in this format in our last gathering in Nairobi. And basically what you have here are badges. So if you attended a session in Nairobi, you could scan the QR code, and it's an NFT. And now you have a badge for having been there. And your information is stored as having been there, and you are in there. And we can see who attended what and where they were. And gradually we have this database and outreach tool that if something interesting comes up in this field or that field or the other field, oh yes, he was here, she was there, they were here. Now we can contact them, now we can send them things, now we can help them own what we're doing very quickly. Another thing is the look up action, activity, where the idea behind it is this, that all our lives and well-being are woven into the fabric of our planet and connected to the universe. Not a choice, it's a reality. This is our world. The worldhood of our world. This is what we belong to, all of us. Then there's the world of mathematicians and the world of engineers and the world of theater, and the world fragments into separate experiences, but we can all belong to this. So the Skythe is a concept. We took selfies off the stage, we take skyfies of the sky. And we get that connection and we can post it. And we can actually locate where you are and what you've done and what you're seeing and what's interesting. And maybe it's clouds, maybe it's a sunrise, maybe you see Sirius up there, maybe you're a fan of Orion, and you post. And it's not the selfie, it's the sky, and you're connecting to the world. There's a post, as a point of interest. How good is living with the sky at the top of the stairs? That breaks my heart. It's so beautiful. That somebody would do that, just to do that, just to send it out into the world. It's a beautiful thing, and you can do this. You have all your amazing science and knowledge. Take it into schools. That lovely Ashanti proverb, no one shows the child the sky. Children look up. And sadly, we often teach them to stop that. Stargazer is often a derogatory term. Space cadet. Sad, isn't it? Teach them to look up. Get them excited about clouds and stars and constellations. Because what is above us unites us. And this is how you create a world. You have a community create a narrative. The stories we tell each other are the stories that create us. Culture happens between us, not individually. We create a world together. So be storytellers. Be performance artists. Just dance, right? Dance like everybody's watching. That's how to do it. And then find the child. Find the child in you and find the child in us. Now, I also want to mention one thing, to give you a practical example of storytelling, that the 100-Year Starship does the Canopus Award, where long-form and short-form fiction and long-form and short-form nonfiction are awarded, rewarded. And this has become quite the event and has produced some rather wonderful writing, or rather not produced the writing, but highlighted it and published it. So I would encourage you to keep an eye on that and let that inspire you as well. And I also, just before I close, I wrote down a couple of things, and just to let you know that things that we've heard in here, I probably didn't need to talk today, because you've been saying this all along. We heard about protecting the public domain, that interference only takes two, and those two can ruin it for everybody. Yes? No, we got to think about everyone. We can't all be about strategic initiatives and GDPs and other such things, wonderful as they are. Somebody wished to hear the song of exoplanets. There she is. There she is. The song of exoplanets. That broke my heart. I loved that. There was the origami ballet of the LCRT. And there was a speaker, whose name sadly escapes me right now, somebody help me, who mentioned to us that one of the delights of his science was that he could now speak to his daughter about the sky. What a marvelous thing to say. See, I didn't need to talk. It had already been said. Be a storyteller. Talk to the child. Talk to the child in you. And then, of course, I was preempted this morning, creating the world that never was. It's a magical thing to do. And of course, Yuri Milner's quotation there, that it will tell us as much about ourselves as about Alpha Centauri. And that's the story we tell about us. And so I would ask you, in closing, expand the horizons, please. Help them look up. Invite those voyages of discovery wherever you can. Bring them along. Open the gate. Show them the path. Take their hand. Walk them down it. create those worlds and create the culture between us. You're already doing it, but now take it outside. Thank you.